and welcome to the newest episode of the Noobs and Knockouts podcast. I'm Austin. I'm a knockout, watched a lot of wrestling.
I'm David. I'm a noob, and I haven't watched a ton of wrestling, and oh boy, almost wasn't going to watch more today, but luckily we got our technology issues figured out.
Yes, we had a lot of tech issues, but that's okay. We got it working now. It's whatever. But what are we going to watch? But Lucha Underground.
Yes, the best. Oh, thank God we're back here.
Yeah, I am very excited to be back. I listened to our most recent episode. It's episode 18. A Roid Rage destroys title belt. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That to remind myself of what happened last time we watched. Obviously, the big thing to come out of that was Brian Cage in his rage at losing was just like fuck it. I'm gonna just take this title belt and just rip it in two.
Yeah. That was it got really angry. The machine was just really going out at it, but hey, Puma got to retain his title, so woo, yeah, even if it's like physically destroyed, it's there in spirit.
He's still champion.
True.
Mm-hmm. And that happened. Phoenix beat Mil Muertes in a quick one. Who knows how Muertes is going to take that? Probably not well. Just going to
guess. Oh, Muertes does not seem like the type to take things on the chin.
No. The crew was established, but with Big Rick on the horizon, going to come back for that whole burned your eye out thing.
Yeah, that is that. I'm excited for edgier Big Rick with an eye patch.
Indeed, gonna be great. And then the other last thing to really mention is you got Dario Cueto being confronted in his office by the mysterious woman who is hunting for Matanza, the one who owes her.
Yeah, kind of vague, but it was cool to see Cueto get dicked on a little bit by some rando. That was fun.
Yeah, and so I guess for going forward tonight is kind of as usual as we found in Lucha Underground. They don't necessarily take the time to advertise to you immediately what comes up next week.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we literally know the title of the next episode is Johnny Mundo versus the Machine. So I guess that kind of does tell us how this is whether a big thing for tonight will be.
Yeah, no, and I mean, hey, love me some Johnny Mundo fighting. So bada bing, bada boom, huh?
Yeah, I think we got a good one on tap. 3 minutes is our front half here, but wow. It's just kind of we got our speedy.
That's the magic of being far into storylines. We just get to just snap through these front halves.
Yeah,
it's great.
That and not having a lot to cover. I don't need to explain anything. We watched the last episode.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. Well then, see you guys in the back half.
Later.
And we are back. We have just finished episodes 13 and 14 of season 1 of Lucha Underground.
Dang, that was a lot. That was a whirlwind. Oh my God, where to begin?
I know. And as I mentioned to David when we were watching, I kind of appreciated that episode 13, was very kind of story heavy. And episode 14 felt very more in ring focused and a lot less, and a lot less stuff going on backstage.
And both were appreciated. Both kind of threw into great contrast how good Lucha is at doing both. Mm-hmm. Because all the story segments we got during episode 13 really were just great to watch. It's just one of those things. I will never be able to stop gushing about how much I enjoy the way they do story segments in Lucha, especially because something Austin noticed, and Austin had said something about, and I had kind of noticed too. We talked last time we did Lucha about the setup for this being much different than a WWE promo because it's done as its own separate story thing. That's not candid shot being broadcast. It's its own kind of it's just its own separate thing that then the audience gets shown. And commentary does this really cool thing in episode 13. Beginning of episode 14,
yeah.
where they make it very obvious that they are not aware of the story things we saw in episode 13 because they don't get broadcast to the whole ring. They're
Mm-hmm.
just like something that happens backstage that within the fictional world of Lucha we get to see as part of the show.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool effect, really unique to how wrestling's done a lot these days. And
Yeah,
then of course
Lucha Underground is like the only wrestling show I know of that has that kind of setup.
their version of kayfabe fascinates me and delights me.
Mm-hmm.
Because
So
yeah,
I
go
feel
for
like
it.
I was gonna say it was you can finish that, but I was also gonna say we could just start with that story bit then since you brought it up.
I mean, yeah, no, I there is no like kind of one place to start for these episodes, so just kind of randomly talk. The story bit I'm referencing is so last time we were in Boyle Heights, Phoenix and Mil Muertes had a fight that Phoenix ended up winning. Um, and this time in episode 13, we got a backstage segment where Katrina, Mil Muertes' girlfriend, comes up to Phoenix in the locker room and he's training, punching a sandbag, whatever.
Yeah.
And she just kind of like macks on him for a little bit. And she's like
flirts in like the weirdest, creepiest way you could probably do it.
Like I thought she was fucking with him at first. I was like, she's here to like deliver some shit. Because she points to like a dream catcher tattoo he has, and she's like, "Does this keep you from having nightmares?"
And then
I
she said,
think so.
Yeah, and she sets up for a one liner about Mil Muertes when she says, "What could cause an immortal man to be afraid?"
Yeah. But then instead she like rubs his chest and kisses him. And Phoenix the entire time is just like, what the hell is happening?
It's like, what is going on?
And she's just like, let's keep it between us if this happened. And Phoenix is just like, okay.
Okay. I don't really talk. I don't really talk to Mil Muertes. I can do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which was great. It was funny. And then in episode 14 we have him squaring off against Argenis. I keep wanting to call him Angeles, but I'm like, that's not right. Squaring off against Argenis. And he wins, and then Katrina like shows up and she's like watching the back half of the match and she's all like, leering and smiling and stuff.
Yeah, and commentary doesn't know that what the interplay is supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like we as the audience can understand that like clearly she seems to be having this ongoing flirtation now with Phoenix, but the commentators don't know that, and they assume that she's here as an intimidation factor on behalf of Mil Muertes because Muertes isn't around.
Yeah. And it's really cool because like it creates this really layered version of kayfabe that makes for a lot more intrigue than how we get it in like most versions of wrestling media. So It's super cool. And then at the end she comes and lick of deaths Argenis, while staring down Phoenix suggestively.
She does the thing she does for Mil for Phoenix.
So we get that, but then later on, we see her going to talk to Mil Muertes, and she's kind of trying to tell him off, and Muertes just kind of like grunts at her and then chokes her, and they do this thing where like he's lifting her up, but it's not like we don't ever see her like actually lifting off the ground.
Yeah, he is obviously it is staged in a way that makes it look like he's doing that. Like they have a shot of her feet lifting off the ground.
Which I would just like to imagine like they pause filming on the choking shot and then Muertes lets go and then just like hooks her by the underarms and lifts her up that way.
I imagine that's kind of what they did. Like clearly those are different shots of like, and they probably use if I want to get into like how film is made, they probably like put her on a box or whatever.
Yeah.
For the scenes where he's supposed to be lifting her up to him.
Yeah.
She's trying to be like the man of 1,000 lives has too much power. Was too much power for you. All right, excuse me, the power of 1,000 lives.
Yeah.
Which, again, this is what I talked about of them being like forever rivals and like the Phoenix being mildly supernatural. It's the kind of thing that the show doesn't take as explicit a stance on as they might do other
they
stuff.
dance around. They kind of
They dance around the idea, but never more do they make it sound more supernatural than when he's messing around with Muertes. And Katrina is all in on this idea that Phoenix is like actually supernatural, of like because she calls him immortal, and then she explicitly contrasts him as having the power of 1,000 lives, and Mil Muertes is by definition the 1,000 deaths.
Yeah,
and as I mentioned, that's the conceit of their forever rivalry. It is literally life versus death.
Yeah, no, which is really cool, like symbolism to go for, and I appreciate what they're doing there.
Yeah, but anyway, she's like, it was too much for you, and she's about to say "you need," as if, and is about to tell him what to do, and he does the choke thing, and then he just screams in her face, "I need nothing!"
And she's immediately into it again, like the face goes immediately submissive, and she's just never mind.
She shows a mild amount of fear when he first picks her up, but by the end of it, she's just smirking.
She's just immediately horny.
She got what she wanted out of that.
You know what? I am here for Katrina, exploring her sexuality, as long as it's with consenting adults, and if she likes the big, strong, beefy guys, well, she's in the right place. So go for it. Godspeed.
Man, there's a lot of stuff in this episode. In these two episodes, you can construe as kind of kinky, but we'll talk about it.
I feel like that's like wrestling on a whole, and especially Lucha on a whole.
No, yeah.
Like Lucha's really big on the brutal impact, and like the tying people up and the choking people. It goes really hard on some of that shit.
No. So right now we're kind of left, but we're kind of left with not knowing what Katrina's game is exactly.
No,
it's not as straightforward. I don't think it's as straightforward as like it. It first kind of starts as portraying itself as if she's kind of like trying to latch on to a winning horse.
Yeah.
Like now that she's seen Phoenix overcome Muertes, she's like, I don't know, maybe Mr. 1,000 Lives over here is the winning ticket. But then she's also she's still also saddling up with Mil Muertes. So we don't quite know what her angle is yet. But I'm sure we will figure that out.
Again, the way the show builds intrigue is really cool. Because again, even like the weird little like interpersonal dramas here, I'm bought in. I kind of want to know, like, it's the nice thing about having like a 45-minute episode format, like, and we talked about this before with the show, is like it cuts so much fat that, like, unlike something like WWE, like that can really overplay some of this shit. Like, we get just enough that we get into it, and then like it leaves us dangling at just the point where we're kind of wanting answers. So it's really good at doing that.
Yeah, and I feel like, as kind of noted, I was trying to pay attention to it, but it felt like a lot of the story beats in episode 13 do not cross over with episode 14 and vice versa. There are some, but then there are also story beats that are only in each episode.
Oh yeah, big one, especially if you want to talk about like making the audience want answers. The big one is we actually get a continuation from episode 12 of the mysterious lady that came and intimidated Dario about like she's here for revenge or whatever. And Dario's like, I don't know what you're talking about. What's going on? We get this great moment.
It turns out that was a fucking lie.
Oh yeah, Dario just rolled a nat 20 on deception there. We get this great shot of him in like a basement dungeon sort of thing. This giant ass like key around his neck, goofy looking like prop key, but it's effective. And he's
he's had that for pretty much the whole show.
Oh shit, planning and payoff.
Yeah, like and also the notion of like him wanting. I believe is during the episodes we skipped. There was a thing where I believe Johnny Mundo took the key for a hot second, just not because he knew anything about it, but just because he understood that like Dario clearly cared about the key.
So just fuck with him.
Yeah, and so Dario was like whoa, man, whoa.
Oh, hold up,
he got really, a lot more submissive than he usually is when the key is on the line.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, guys, you were saying. I was just
Yeah,
gonna
no. I
interrupt you.
appreciate the context. No,
Mhm.
but it's this great moment where he's down in like some basement dungeon thing, and he's got this key, and he's sitting there, and he's talking to something off screen, and immediately is like, we see that nope, he knows exactly what's going on. He refers to the woman who menaced him by name, Black Lotus, which
Yes,
is
thank God that mystery didn't go for that long because it was kind of be annoying if I had to keep referring to her not by name.
yeah, no. Nice badass name there. And he's like, she's here for revenge for you. She's gotten stronger. And I could let you out and let her get the revenge, but I must protect my temple, sort of thing. He's doing this great, like arch villain bit where
Mhm.
he's got puppet master control of everything that's going on. And he walks away and we get just like this big menacing shadow, like kind of come into the light for a second.
Yeah, otherwise we do not see anything that we don't know what's in the
Mm-mm.
cave. I mean, we can assume it's probably a person of some sort, or it could be
Yeah,
a monster that has Lucha Underground.
person monster, same difference.
Right, but all we kind of get of the thing in the cage is just like a lot of grunting, and yeah, at the end scene you get the super menacing shadow behind
Yeah.
the bars.
It's gonna be really interesting to see how that plays out. I love the fact that they're not afraid to go a little more outside of reality for this show. Like,
Mhm.
it makes it such a fun duality that, there's the stark kind of sports reality of what's going on in the ring, but then we get these like story beats that have a little bit more like fantasy and action and thriller to it. Um that's kind of a fun added spice to it. And honestly, like for as hard as they lean into stuff like this, I take it a lot more serious than I do like any of the supernatural elements that WWE tries to bring in. Um
Mhm.
like here I'm bought in and I want to know like what crazy thing is inside the cage. Like that's going to be a cool reveal and I'm sure it'll pay off well and I'm sure that I'm not gonna have a hard time buying into some like like hulking monstrosity being like a real thing within this world.
Yeah, absolutely. The cage mystery is a very exciting time.
Oh yeah,
And as we were saying, that really only took place in episode 13. Episode 14 did not
not
talk about that
remotely,
at all.
not remotely, and
Which
it
I
was
appreciate that because you don't need a development on it every single week, especially when
yeah.
you only have 45 minutes.
It keeps it scarce and and keeps you engaged with just the right amount of of tantalizing info dangled in front of your face, and then it's yanked back away before you have a chance to like really get a grasp on things. It's super
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah.
That was a ton of fun. We get a story beat in earlier on in the episode where it's just Cueto and Mundo having a conversation. Like Mundo's come back and Cueto's like, yes, we are friends, and I want to give you some action. And Mundo's like, yeah, I'm here for the action.
Does
Um,
not confirm the friendship part.
does not confirm the friendship part. I thought he said like we're on friendly terms now.
No,
Um,
like Cueto gives that whole speech, and then he goes, "You're right about one thing. I am looking for some action."
yeah, yeah, true.
Implying that everything else was wrong.
Yeah,
And well, Dario gonna Dario. We may as well go and talk about the episode 13 main event since
yeah,
because
let's go
that's the
for it.
continuation of that part.
I mean,
Is
it's what
the
we talked about in the front half.
yeah is Mundo versus Cage, and as I joke with David, in an alternate universe, this is a WWE main event,
match. Yeah.
but it is here in Lucha Underground. I thought it was pretty good overall.
Oh my god, I thought it was a phenomenal match. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm still jury's still out for me on like how much I like legitimately enjoy Cage. Like I still find him
Mhm.
a little boring, but put him in a ring with Johnny Mundo, and oh my god, both of them just look incredible.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I think this was I think this was a really good match. Like both kind of showing off Johnny Mundo being back because it's been a few weeks since
yeah.
he hasn't been here since Aztec Warfare, and as well as letting Cage show off more of his athletic repertoire
Oh
that
yeah,
they chose to kind of hide for the sake of making Puma be the only one who does the flippy stuff.
yeah.
But
Um,
Cage is very capable of it.
which is impressive for his size.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think what's really interesting about this match too is like kind of by default posing Johnny Mundo as a Giant Slayer. I kind of felt that even more than I did the Puma match. Which is funny to say because Mundo himself is like, he's a tall boy. He's as tall as Cage, if not taller. And yet it still felt kind of nice and Giant Slayery because Cage is going even harder than he was during the Puma match. And Mundo is clearly like got that fire in his belly to pull it out. So it does have a very kind of David and Goliath feel to it.
Plus, what Cage may or may not lack in height, he makes up for in width.
Oh my god, he's so thick, dude. And yeah, I mean, just on a general level, what continues to impress me about Lucha, and I'm sure I've said this before, and I'm sure I'll say it again, but what continues to impress me about Lucha is just the sheer consistency of its goodness. Like, I at this point, I don't need to worry ever about a match not being entertaining. I can just take it for granted that a Lucha match is going to be good. And I think that's incredible. And which means the things that stand out are exceptional. And this is definitely one of those things. Like, Mundo is a joy to watch fight. Just the way in which he's able to maneuver, and the complex moves he's able to pull off.
His wonky parkour doing ass.
Yeah, I mean, it's extra. It's really extra, but it adds a nice flair to it. Like Austin will point out, like, half the stuff he does is kind of unnecessary.
But it
clearly
looks
him
so
like
cool.
being a parkour guy, but it looks really cool. And again, adds to the really great Lucha thing of everybody looks really distinct in how they move. And again, kind of like I was talking about with Cena versus Mysterio a couple weeks ago. This was another case of the uniqueness with which Johnny Mundo moves only amplified the visual impressiveness of how Cage moved in turn, because it made the way Cage moved stick out so much more by contrast, because it's so distinctly not what Mundo was doing. Cage is not a high flyer; he's a brutalist, and that comes across really well paired up with a high flyer, and they make it match up really well.
Definitely. Though ultimately it's not really the story's not really about Cage in this one, in that throughout the early in the match we get King Cuerno hanging out in the rafters.
Yep.
And there is the question of, like, who's he going for here? And you get the answer to that, where he is during the Cage and Mundo match, he comes out and attacks Johnny Mundo, causing a DQ to end the match, we think. And he just straight up, he like is going for the injury immediately, going to injure immediately. He like wraps Mundo's leg around the ring post and then smashes a chair into it.
Yeah. And so that fucks up Mundo's leg, and then Cueto comes out, cheeky bastard that he is, and is like, hey, we're friends, all right? So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna let this match end by DQ. It's gonna keep going. And Cage is already like halfway up the stairs at this point. He does this great kind of like turnaround. He's like, oh, more blood, Hulk smash. And of course just comes in, and Mundo tries, but just Cage obviously wrecks his shit.
Right.
And this was really palpable too, because watching Mundo lose under those circumstances adds this great visceral level to it of, oh my god, this man is clearly in pain. Mundo does a great job of selling the injury. And yet he pushes through and is even able to get one or two like pins on Cage, but ultimately, it's leading to that foregone conclusion where Cage just overpowers him because he's so big, and Mundo's leg just got fucked up enough that he can't stand up to Cage anymore. He has to like go down.
Yeah, they made Mundo look very strong and still being able to put up a decent fight.
Yeah,
with even on the injured leg, but at the end of the day, he's only got one functioning ankle.
Yeah,
Cage is not a mere man; he is in fact a machine.
He is a machine.
Kind of one last thing to kind of bring up on that one. I thought it was really funny that Cage is like coming to the ring wearing the title belt he broke into.
This is true. Motherfucker's parading it around like this big trophy.
Yeah.
It almost reads to me like an edgelord version of that meme where like the dude gets handed the trophy and he like super celebrates it, and
He's in third.
and he's like last place. It's like an edgelord version of that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I know. Yeah. Good shit.
Yeah, no. Which I thought was kind of funny, but it was even kind of cool too. Like it adds an extra little character dimension that he's the sort of dude who like not only does he like on impulse roid rage rip the belt, but then he's like, my prize now. I'm gonna claim it as if I was the winner because I'm such an egotist that I feel like I might as well be.
Yeah, I mean, I broke it in two, so clearly I'm the winner.
Yeah.
I was the one standing tall at the end.
Yeah,
I won.
It makes perfect sense to me, and it made for a cool visual.
I mean, are you gonna go tell Cage that he didn't win?
This is true. This is true. He's able to get by a lot on how big he is. No, but it props to this for making me buy a little more into Cage. Just by definition of who they're pairing him up to. It was a really cool main event to watch. I super enjoyed that entire display.
Definitely. So do you want to talk about like the last big? I guess there are two bigger story beats left, or do you want to start going down?
I want to leave like the last big story beat to the end.
Okay.
Now what I want to touch on next, because I was surprised by this. I want to talk about Son of Havoc because
yes,
both the things we watched from him, I bought into him more than I thought I ever would. Two things on that front. The first match we get is him versus
Angelico.
Angelico. Okay, yeah, it's him versus Angelico. And Angelico's also great. We saw him in Aztec Warfare, and now he's here.
Yeah, he's kind of been featured in spots before. You know, he's a very athletic guy, and he's really cool to me because he is an insane daredevil in the ring, but at the same time, he has a lot, and I think Lucha Underground shows that more than this other thing I'm going to say, but he also has a lot of technical skill. Like if they want to portray him as like a kind of a submission almost kind of guy, he can do that. He's very good at it as someone who's seen other stuff from him.
That's cool. Like people who have versatility like that, I respect the hell out of. And like I can tell just watching him, he's a really talented dude. Like the way he moves so effortlessly, it definitely reads like this is a guy who can do a lot just on sheer physical capability.
Yep. And so him and Son of Havoc is I think it's a nice little opener that plays well into what happens in the second episode.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too, like I so far have not really cared about Son of Havoc. Like, you know, he's a heel and he's a douchebag, and like he's so normie. It's so weird for me to see like more kind of like normal character wrestlers, quote unquote, in Lucha Underground, just because like the standout characters are so out there, so balls to the wall in their character concepts that like the normal people just seem extremely boring by comparison. Havoc's one of those people.
I feel like that plays into his underdog status, though, and I guess we're probably going to get into that. Is that I think that these two episodes are the first real time that we're starting to play into the idea of him as kind of being a likable underdog.
Yeah,
is they're starting to lean into the fact that he doesn't win matches at all, but he tries really hard, and also his girlfriend sucks.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the first match that I noticed was, and this was honestly what spurred me to want to make my once again Lucha Underground is consistently good comment. Is like watching this. Even in that match, like these fights are so good that even Son of Havoc, I'm impressed by his like in-ring prowess and some of the moves he pulls off. Like everybody's able to pull off these really smart combos and these great little tricks, and all these awesome moments that prove what great technical fighters every single person who works for this company is, and Havoc's included among them. And I kind of was watching this like, god damn, the fighting in this show is so good. It's even making me care about a character that I do not viscerally give a shit about. So like that was fight number one, and he loses that, and in the process of losing that, Evilise, who is hanging out ringside and yelling at Son of Havoc and taunting Angelico.
I mean, if you want to be arguable about it, this series of episodes is Son of Havoc keeps losing because his girlfriend is awful.
I mean, that's fair. But
because
she gets accidentally headbutted. By Son of Havoc.
Yeah, so like they do a sequence. It's a relatively common sequence, especially when we're talking about potentially man on woman violence. To do is that she's up on the apron. I mean, is she's up on the apron and they go to the ropes. And they do this sequence a lot longer than I expect, and I kind of appreciate it.
It's almost like Looney Tunes.
Usually it's only once or twice do they do it before they move on. But like first they have, Son of Havoc gets out of the way of an attack, and Angelico has to stop himself from hitting Evilise. And then Son of Havoc goes for a move, but Angelico dodges, and now Son of Havoc almost hits Evilise, and he has to stop. And they do this at least one more round of this exact sequence before eventually Angelico wins at the sequence in that Havoc goes for a spear tackle, and he misses, and he knocks Evilise in the gut.
Oh, yeah, and so she's knocked out. And
obviously this leads to her losing. It leads to Havoc losing because that's how that goes.
Yeah, and Evilise is pissed.
Now Evilise storms out. She's mad.
And I don't know. I mean, like, baby, sweetie, honey, let's talk about this.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. It feels like this is literally your fault, Evilise.
Yeah, no. I mean, her getting mad was the first indicator. I'm like, oh, she's kind of mean.
Yeah, so she storms out, and that's kind of the end of that for the week. And then episode 2, poor Son of Havoc, he jinxes himself. He 2 weeks to retirements himself when he says I'm dedicating this match to the love of my life, dedicating this win to the love of my life, Evilise, and he is facing a Johnny Mundo.
Oh, God. Which immediately I'm like, oh, yeah, this is going to go real well for you, buddy.
I mean, it almost does. They play this story of, like, especially with Mundo still being a little bit hurt.
Yeah.
Like, Havoc's getting close.
Yeah.
He's putting up a heck of a fight, and it all culminates when he has him dead to rights. He's going to hit the moonsault, and he's going to win. Except Evilise decides to jump up on the apron and then yell at him to hit the move.
Yeah.
And they go back and forth on this for so long that when he tries to hit the move, Johnny Mundo can recover, and that's what gives Mundo the ability to win.
Yeah.
But Mundo and Son of Havoc, I thought, had a really good match.
Oh my God. It turned out really well. I mean, the cool thing about that one was, I mean, Mundo is always great to watch, yada, yada, yada. But, goddamn, it made me care about Havoc. I made the comment to Austin when we were watching. I was like, man, watching this, I almost want Havoc to win because I don't want to see his relationship fall apart because the girlfriend is a toxic bitch. Because this poor guy, like, you get a taste for it in the last episode where, like, she's mad about something that's kind of her fault. Like, I get being like grumpy that you got hurt, but like storming off as if like this is some great injustice when you were like right there, and it's like not Dude Bro's fault ultimately, like aside from the fact that he was losing, like that you got yeeted here, like chill out a little bit. And then here, like the fact that she's back with him, you can tell it's so tenuous, and you're just like, oh buddy, don't I don't want to see this blow up in your face, right?
Oh, but indeed blow up it probably.
Blow up it does. Well, what's funny too is fucking Cuerno comes back trying once again to get at at Mundo.
It's like, what if I hurt Mundo a second time?
Yeah. So they do the match, and Havoc is, again, I'm somehow rooting for him, and he's showing off, and he actually does this really cool thing where he horizontals himself on the ring corner. and then drops onto Mundo below him. That was a super cool move. And I'm like,
he does this cool.
He does the human flagpole thing.
Yes, he did. He has a human flagpole in the ring corner, and then then transitions that into an elbow drop.
And I was like, God really damn it, that was cool.
Yep.
So great show from the both of them. But eventually, he screws up the move because Ivelisse was yelling at him. And then he drops down too late, so Mundo is able to knee him and get the pin, the fall on him. And then so Havoc and Ivelisse leave the ring in disgrace, and then Cuerno shows back up again and is like, I'm gonna get you a second time, and Mundo's just kind of like, yeah, no, let's not this time, and manages to yeet Cuerno
enough to get away.
Yeah.
Which as I told David, clearly this is Mundo's fault for wearing all those furs. He's confusing Cuerno.
This is true. It's so good. I don't know. I just love that Cuerno is like such a prick that he'll go after whomever to get this title, to even if it's so out of ring and he has no place being there. He's just gonna beat up whoever he needs to somehow claw his way from the top, extrajudicially.
Yeah, and what I love about Cuerno is how super committed he is to the character that he's supposed to be playing.
This is true.
In his body language is amazing.
Yeah, that's something I don't think I've given enough credence to yet. But the way he communicates his character by movement alone. I mean, obviously, as we've made very clear on this show, that's kind of par for the course when it comes to Lucha Underground fighters. But Cuerno has this great thing about him where he is crouched and he's constantly got this glare in his eyes. And he moves in this slow, deliberate way. That's so evocative. You really, really feel a character with him on a level that you don't even with some of the very best character actors on Lucha. He's kind of on this whole other level that's so delightfully intense. It's really entertaining.
Yeah, it's wild because I know that Cuerno is actually capable of being a really good character in terms of acting and voice and line delivery, because
he even shows that a little bit in these episodes.
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen that in his WWE run that he's on right now.
Oh shit, he's on WWE right now?
Yes, he's unmasked and is playing a completely different character. But he's doing a really good job, and he's showing an ability to talk as part of it. But this is super cool in that he is mostly mute. He doesn't talk often, but you still easily can understand everything he's about from the way he moves. That's very impressive.
Yeah, no. And then he gets on mic a little bit and he yells, or he doesn't even get on mic. He just yells out.
No, he goes, the hunt is beginning again.
Yeah. And it's a ton of fun. Great effects, no shock there, right? So that's super cool to watch. And then we have another kind of two-parter between 13 and 14 with Pentagon Jr. We want to talk about gifted technical fighters. They're doing this really interesting. Yes! So first we get this video package with him. And I'll let Austin take the reins a little bit because I know how much he loves Pentagon Jr. But I'll set it up a little bit because we get this great video package of him doing martial arts in a dojo and kicking everybody's ass and giving this narration in Spanish about how he's great, yada yada yada.
It's the same thing that gave Brian Cage, and they give a lot of people on this show. But I love it every time of him. But
with him, it's a little more
random dudes in the dojo.
Yeah, they give it a little more of a visual flair here, which is a nice touch. I mean, that's obviously Pentagon's whole thing is having a little more of a distinct visual flair to him. His costumes are really unique and actually kind of cool and intimidating.
Oh, it is cosplay goals is Pentagon Jr. But I think really the only thing that is super interesting to me about the promo he cuts during this video package is that the way he ties in his catchphrase "Cero Miedo," zero fear, of when he's when you fight like me, you have no fear.
Yeah.
or like something to that effect. And I thought that was kind of neat the way he tied zero fear into like a wider narrative. But yeah, in these 2 episodes, he gets 2 jobber squashes that exist to start his new best character trait. The one where he just breaks people's arms.
What a character trait it is, baby.
So this episode, first episode 13, he fights Famous B, which give it a couple years in real time on this podcast, and we get to talk about Famous B being my favorite meme in the history of this show.
I did remark, Charles, when we were watching, Famous B already just in this one jobber squash was giving off big meme lord energy.
Yeah, he's very capable of it. But first, he shows up and both these matches, this against Famous B in episode 13 and against Ricky Mandel in episode 14, they both exist to basically put over Pentagon as an absolute killer. I touched on it last time because 2 episodes ago in Lucha Underground, we had Pentagon on it. And I touched on his penchants for violence because he enjoys it. Commentary brings that up now. Of bringing up this idea of he's got this new intensity to him, and he enjoys hurting people, and you see it in the way he carries himself in his matches. I said that last time too, but same thing here is that he's so calm and collected as he's just methodically destroying people.
Yeah, and I want to throw in there just as a random side note. You mentioning commentary, I just want to throw in there randomly. Like, commentary was a lot of fun to pay attention to these last couple episodes. Like, this is the most I've noticed commentary like in anything we've watched, just consistently. They came through really well, and I really enjoy listening to them. Anyway,
it helps that I think Matt Stryker and Vampiro have a lot of energy and chemistry with each other.
Yeah, and it's cool too because like they don't do the fucking WWE thing of like we have a heel commentator and a face commentator. They're just kind of going for like whatever's the most entertaining. Which
they have their own. I mean, if I had to try to put them in any box, I would probably say that Vampiro is a little more heelish than Stryker. But they kind of play it off of like Stryker plays the neutral to babyface ish head faith commentator, but even then he doesn't necessarily like boo-hoo the heels necessarily. He's kind of he's not there to play that kind of explicit role of like these are the bad guys and they're doing the bad things.
Neither of them do. They both respect the hustle from everybody. Ultimately,
they do. Is they both feel like guys who generally prefer what's right. But when bad guys do bad guy things, they're like, well, that's how it goes. Got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, it adds a great dimension to the rough and tumble feel of like the underground fight club.
No, they're not. They're not like getting morally superior that a guy like kicks someone in the dick or whatever.
And again, it does the really cool Lucha Underground thing of it adds an air of authenticity to one of wrestling media history's most outlandish shows. That they're so good. I don't know if I'll ever be able to fully wrap my head around how they pull it off. That they make that Lucha Underground of all things feels like the most authentic out of like all wrestling media I've watched thus far. The least manufactured, the most like kind of real and down to earth. Despite the fact that it has phoenixes, dragons, zombies, fucking rich people, and I whatever else you want to throw in there.
Pumas in a jaguar tribe.
Pumas in a jaguar tribe, and a kitchen boy from a mariachi restaurant who got invited to the Fight Club.
Yeah, no, I agree. Is that Lucha Underground, man, it does this, the way it manages to make the outlandish premise feel the most real is something that is incredible.
Well, I think what's impressive about Lucha on a whole is just its ability to take things that make things work in a way you don't normally expect them to. Like circling back to Pentagon Jr., I enjoyed the jobber squashes, and I know this isn't the first time I've enjoyed jobber squashes, but like neither of these times was I cringing at like, oh god, the obvious jobber squash. Why are we wasting our time on this? Because they gave it a purpose, and Pentagon is talented enough that it's still entertaining to watch. And like the people they pair him up against, while they clearly are jobbers, they don't like just throw them aside so quickly, like that they just feel immediately delegitimize the moment they show up on screen. Like you feel like they could actually they feel like legitimate enough that it doesn't.
It feels like if it was a better day for them, maybe they could get a win.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a good day for them.
Because even the jobbers on Lucha Underground are insanely freaking talented.
But it's not a good day for them. Because today they face Pentagon Jr.
I made the comment to Austin when we were watching of just like, imagine all these jobbers like lined up backstage, like out of kayfabe, and like just drawing the short stick for which one of them has to get their arm broken by Pentagon Jr. this week.
Yeah, so the match happened. I told David this. I appreciate that, like, even without prompting, because when Pentagon is more of a babyface, he'll do a prompt for it. But even when he's not, but even when he's clearly supposed to be a heel and is playing it that way, everyone silences when he's about to chop the absolute shit out of people.
God. The way he like makes those chops look so brutal too is outstanding.
Just open palm slap.
Oh my god. Like, of all the things for me to like feel while watching a match, I would never expect a slap to be something that like I feel so deeply in my gut, but it like echoed out as he slams his fucking hand across this guy. It just I'm like, oh, that looks bad.
Yeah. And so
he's terrifying.
He is. And both matches end with him. It's interesting because they kind of phase out the submission part of this, is that he gets them in an arm bar and situate in an arm bar, and they both like verbally submit, and that's how the match is, like, that's how he wins. But then afterwards, both times the ref is like, okay, match is over,
you're done, buddy.
He's like, fuck you, and pushes him over, and then just leans back and snaps their arm, snaps the arms of both men involved.
Into it.
Oh, they're very into it. Especially, I noticed this especially after Ricky Mandel gets his arm broken. They're immediately chanting Cero Miedo.
Yeah, no, which is funny because like a lot of the time they really are like pretty loyal to like the faces over the heels, but no, here they're thirsty for that blood and they are making it known, and it's kind of a really cool effect. It adds a character to the audience, even that
there's arguably never been a more bloodthirst. That's not true. This is the second most bloodthirsty audience that's probably ever existed in wrestling. It adds a very interesting character and dynamic to the show, where the crowd is as into the violence as everyone, as Dario is, and as the wrestlers are, and it adds to this air of danger.
Well, the cool thing about this show too is like it's not in some like gigantic arena, right? The audiences are a lot smaller, which means, and again, we've talked about this before, but it's such a cool thing to me because like the smaller nature of the audience means you get a lot more to like zoom in on and a lot more focus on with like audience interaction with the fighters. And that adds to the gritty realism a little bit. It's fun to see like such a direct audience splash zone happen. And that the way they focus on like other people's faces and the reactions of the crowd to things so specifically right in the wrestlers' faces, just makes it feel all the more connected. Again, despite all the weird shit, connected to reality. Just the way this show makes you feel things deep down in your gut is wild to me.
And the Pentagon segments end with both times Pentagon Jr. acquiring a microphone from one of the production crew, and both times offering this broken body as a sacrifice to his master.
Hmm.
And I'm very excited for the payoff to that. I know what it is, and I have to sit on it for so long.
I'm looking forward to seeing it because there are like a couple things now that have been introduced that I could see that being attached to, or it could just be its
Mhm.
own thing. Um, I don't know, and that's going to be really fun
Yeah.
to see pay off. I can already tell this is going
Yeah.
to be a fun
But
one.
as of now, we don't know who is Pentagon Jr. answering to.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Again, some possible leads. And that almost feels
I'm here. I'm
intentional
here.
too.
I would
Like,
love to hear. I would love to hear your theories. I
I
will.
mean, I have 3 running theories. One, it's the I can't remember if it was Muertes or Cage who said, "There's only one man who will work with me," or something like that. Um, what
I.
was that whole
I.
deal?
I. Mm, I don't remember that line.
There was something about like one of those two had some line about like having a like some secret loyalty from some other person. I can't remember.
I would probably guess Muertes because I feel like I
Yeah,
would remember. Like Cage has been here for so little time. I feel
that's
like
fair.
I would
Yeah, I think it was a
remember if
Muertes
it
thing.
was Cage.
So yeah, so either Muertes because he said that, or it's the dude that's in Dario's basement dungeon, or it's just its own thing.
Hmm.
Those are my 3 theories.
Okay, I can't really comment because I know the answer,
Well, yeah,
but I do like your theories.
yeah. I mean and I feel like it's almost intentional that they have a couple like things that can possibly connect to that your mind would immediately go to.
Hmm.
Um, again, the writing on this show friggin' brilliant.
Yep,
Um,
good times.
God.
I think we
So
just got to wrap up a few things before we get to the last thing to talk
yes,
about.
I'm trying to
Is that
remember.
Drago and
Drago
Aerostar had a
Drago
match?
and Aerostar was just generally a lot of fun. Um,
Yeah, Drago got the win on this one. It
Drago
was,
Drago got the win, which was really nice to see after his brutal beatdown by Cuerno
yeah,
a
this was a
little
good.
while back.
I feel like this was a good. These two episodes were really good about kind of like picking up guys who are like important, but
Yeah.
have recently taken losses. In that you Drago beat Aerostar, Cage beat Mundo, and then Mundo beat
Um,
Son of Havoc.
and
You know,
and
kind of
even
getting.
and even and Helico beat Son of Havoc after
Mhm.
losing in Aztec Warfare.
Yeah.
So I like even that I was like, yeah, buddy. So yeah, Drago versus Aerostar was just generally a really cool match. Drago's a ton of fun to watch for again, he's kind of like Cuerno where he really physically dedicates himself to the character and it comes across really well. Still probably not to the same level as Cuerno, but he's up there. Um
I think that like where Cuerno has like the body language of a hunter down,
mhm.
Drago has mastered the aesthetic of a dragon.
Yeah, and the stare and the
Mhm.
like the black tongue thing he's got. Still not entirely sure if that's his real tongue or a prop.
I'm
It's hard to tell.
I don't know. I've always assumed it's his real tongue that he just does a cool
The
coloring
the
trick
the
to.
like on one hand it looks real, but on the other, like it looks like the fact that it's like a freaking like Gene Simmons tongue, and like it almost looks like he like spits it out and slurps it back in whenever he like wants to stick it out, almost makes it read like a prop, and he never really seems to do that during fights. So like
Mhm.
I don't know. But regardless, ton of fun. Aerostar's, fun little braggadocious dude. And Drago is just fucking dragon and kicking ass, taking names as dragon self.
As he
Um,
does.
and it's another cool thing of like this isn't a match that has like personal stakes or anything. It's just two guys going at it and allows you to enjoy the athleticism more than anything else.
Yeah, Phoenix and Arhenna is the only thing I want to kind of bring up about that is we already kind of because we already covered like the story
Yeah.
beat of it. Is I would like to point out as I mentioned this to David and is as I enjoyed the fact that like this is a match that probably shouldn't be a particularly close or close match in that Phoenix has been portrayed way above Arhennis's level
Oh
by this
yeah.
point. But I felt like that the presence of Katrina, they kind of did a bit of a story where with Phoenix clearly being a little off his game where Katrina was around, and this gave Arhennis opportunities he probably wouldn't have gotten if she had stayed in the back.
Absolutely. I like without really acknowledging it while we were watching, I noticed that too, kind of just watching the little reactions Phoenix was able to give to her presence, it added a fun little like extra dimension to the fight of just something else to kind of take note of.
Yeah. Phoenix told that story entirely through his own body language,
man.
especially because the commentary did not have the proper story to tell
know.
that for him. So the only person who could tell that story is Phoenix in that moment, and I think he did a good job at it.
Yeah, there's a fun tension to it that is brought out in this really unique way, thanks to the fact that that Phoenix is the only one else aside from the audience clued into like what the hell is going on with Katrina being here.
Yeah.
And you know too, like as soon as Phoenix gets trotted out for that match, like oh shit, something's gonna happen.
Yeah,
in
either
relation to
Muertes
like,
or Katrina is gonna arrive. We just don't really know which.
Yeah, so that it kept you on edge, and the whole mystery of what the hell Katrina's even playing at to begin with is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and speaking of Muertes, is we do get a bit leading a kind of is he's had an ongoing affair with Chavo Guerrero because he was
this thing
Chavo's first match Muertes' first match in Lucha Underground was with Chavo, and there was a bit of an unfinished business there, and so Muertes after he choked Katrina, he stormed off, and he's walking down the dimly lit hallways of the temple.
Yeah.
I don't say dimly lit, more dramatically lit.
Yeah.
And Chavo comes out of a door, and they just kind of start having a fight at each other, and Muertes he starts choking Chavo and throws him up against a wall, and is like, next week we settle this. Next week you pay your due or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a setup for our next episode.
Yes.
And
so then we finally get to the big thing that got me so excited. Is that the end of episode 13? We see Dario in his office.
Dario's on his Powerpuff Girls hotline phone.
Yeah. Talking shady business shit TM
to a shady business person that we don't know.
Haha. And he hears a slam on the door, and I almost thought it was going to be another Black Lotus segment. And he goes like, "Go away, show's over," which you mean no, like that
doesn't mean shit.
Yeah. And then we hear a voice. Oh no, it's only just beginning, and who should step in but Alberto Del fucking Rio, or as he's known here, Alberto
Patron.
Alberto El Patron. But I wish you guys could have seen the way my face lit up when that pompous foppy motherfucker strode into Dario Cueto's office. It made me so happy.
Yep. Alberto El Patron is here. He is relatively fresh off of his run in WWE. It's only been a couple months, so people know, for people who don't know this story, is that he's been fired from WWE twice. This is the first time, and this time happened because there was allegedly an altercation backstage where one of WWE's social media people made a racist joke against Mexicans, and Alberto smacked the shit out of him. And so for that, they fired Alberto. And so if you were wondering a little bit about, like, he clearly alludes to that in his promo. Yeah. And I figured you probably didn't know what he was getting at there, but that's what he was getting at.
I mean, I just the general vibes I got from him talking about like the racism he experienced like in his last employment, like at the very least I'm like, yeah, I have no doubt that there's at least just some general casual racism going on behind the scenes at WWE. Yeah, like both in terms of
from what I remember of this story, it was like a joke about who's gonna clean up this mess and catering, as he's referring to talk points, Mexicans as the cleaning people, that kind of thing. That's I don't remember the exact way that joke goes, but that was the gist.
Yeah.
So he's fired up right now, and as I told David, in Lucha Underground, as I've mentioned a couple times before, he has this really disastrous man of the people kind of character run in WWE that only existed so that he could feud with the real Americans, and nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
But
well, because they spent so much time like pumping him up as this pompous fucking idiot rich dude that like it's so hard to make that work.
That didn't help too. Is that like we spend 2 years with him in WWE as like this arrogant rich asshole, and then for a couple of months now he's like the ideal immigrant American dream story, and it's like that. Even if I felt that Del Rio was good enough, was like well cast in that role, and I don't. The character continuity is just so shitting out the wall here.
Yeah. But what was really cool was like off the bat, not like from episode 13, because episode 13 he just like walks in, announces himself to Dario and like winks and like that's it. When we get into episode 14, what really struck me like off the bat was like I don't know how they did it with all of my preconceived notions about Del Rio just in tow, but like almost immediately he came off as this like really cool, respectable dude, and like despite the fact that this entire time like we've encountered throughout the run of our show, wherever we've encountered Del Rio, I've kind of marveled at him as like the doofus rich dude, yada yada yada, that keeps getting shit on by the company. Here off the bat, I'm like, he's here, and I respect this dude. I don't know why he just feels like I should respect him. I don't know how they pull that off, but like they do a really good job.
I think it's 100% a fact of a different audience receptive to him, and I think that as I was going to remarking at is that I think that this is an audience that is more attuned to AAA Mexican and Mexican Lucha Libre, and this is the kind of company where like he's the current like AAA champion right now, and that plays into his story on this end of episode 14, but but also the fact that like he brings up his legacy as his uncle is Mil Mascaras, his father is Dos Caras, legendary luchadors, and that means something to the audience of Lucha Underground, and I think in that way that makes it a lot easier for him to play this kind of like a man of the people babyface to this. But even in
Dario's office before he's playing to the audience, I think what it is whenever he's on stage in WWE with some exceptions, like most of the times we've seen him, he's played at least somewhat for comedy. At the very least, he's played up as kind of a dope. Just like a happy little dope, who's too rich to understand how dumb he is. But like here, immediately they show kind of a certain level of like cunning from him, or at the very least like clout, that doesn't quite get communicated as much in WWE, which is another thing that like kind of gave me credence, even without the context of like the story of what got him fired, gave me credence of like just the writing treats him with more respect here, just without even like thinking about it, which I think is cool because it just added the effect for me of, oh my god, Alberto Del Rio's here.
Yeah, and that first scene in the office, was like, he was one step away from pissing Dario off enough to start like choking him out because like first he remarks about the key on Dario's neck, and he's not even like not even like in an accusatory way. He's just like, oh, neat key. What does that open? And Dario brushes past it.
Dario, like an idiot, just makes it very like conspicuously clear that it's like a suspicious thing, rather than just like thinking to crack a joke about it, like to deflect. He's just kind of like ignores the question. Like that man is really dumb sometimes. I love it.
Yeah, and then Del Rio asks for the main event slot, but also to not have a fight. He was not interested in that. He wanted to talk to the people, air some grievances, and then he will be willing to fight whenever he wants. And Dario is clearly put out by this idea.
Yeah.
Of like, what do you mean you don't immediately want to start fighting in my blood sport fight club?
But then Dario caves, and we get a promo from Del Rio and like El Patron in like the last 10 minutes of the episode,
Mm-hmm.
where that man of the people thing comes out and it's glorious, and
No,
all of a
it's
sudden, like, his character is so night and day from what it was in WWE, and all of a
no,
sudden I respect the fuck out of
yeah,
this man.
it was a great promo. It covers about what you probably expect. It's very like, I'm glad to be here. These people are so amazing. It's all about this is all about family and hard work, not like he talks about, I came to the United States because I wanted to conquer there and make myself a global icon, and I did, but I was stabbed in the back and I had to deal with racism. And here it that stuff doesn't matter. It's all about whether you can get the job done
Yeah,
and
and
how
I'm
hard
here to
you
get the
work.
job done.
Yeah, and rah rah stuff.
Well, the
You
really
expect.
cool thing too about this is another case where, like, the way the audience is set up adds so much more power to this,
Mhm,
because, like, again, you can see so much more intimacy in how they receive him.
mhm.
He like I'm pretty sure he like gets
Yeah, when he
embraced by
comes
the
down the
audience at one point.
stairs, he runs into the audience for a
Yeah,
spell.
he runs into the audience and they're all chanting for him, and it keeps cutting back to them like chanting for him, and like just the smaller size of the audience makes those chants feel so much more like organic and dynamic in a way.
Mhm,
Um it's really cool to like see how they react to it. And it, it's so cool because, like, I think about like when audience makes a difference when we watch WWE stuff. Um where, like, the one time I can think of, like, the audience really, really, really adding to the moment was during the end of the CM Punk John Cena fight, where Cena runs off and the audience is like, oh, absolutely electric for him. Where that's like where the size of the audience like adds something, because everything feels explosive and momentous. But here, it the smaller size allows for so many more moments like that on a smaller scale. Where, sure, Alberto El Patron coming in ultimately does not have the exact same like explosive punch as like the CM Punk thing. But oh my god, the fact that we get to see so intimately how deliriously excited these people are to have him here just adds so much more to the at home audience experience, because you feel
mhm.
the hype for it. Um uh
That's what I think is one of the greatest benefits of a live wrestling crowd, is their
mm,
ability to communicate to people at home
yeah.
that you should like. That's kind of the big thing, is that like the whole at home audience can follow the energy of the live audience, and
And I don't think I'm out of place for saying that the lucha audience seems especially adept at that.
I would agree.
Mhm. Yeah, no, so that was that the whole speech was phenomenal. I was taken in by it. I was getting hype. I felt like the rah-rah man of the people thing, and I'm like, "Hey, yes, buddy."
And then
And then
Tahano arrived. They don't give a lot. That they kind of treat this as you should know who this is, because it's an extension of their AAA feud. I think
which,
that
whoops, I didn't.
I mean I didn't either. I think that like one of the bigger, I think a bit of maybe a misstep of the earliest times of Lucha Underground is that they treat the audience as having a passive assumption of and knowledge of AAA stuff
Yeah.
as a way to inform the audience, and that's helpful in the beginning because you're instead of having to work from complete and utter scratch. But it does create this weird dissonance for viewers like us who don't know the AAA stuff, and so we don't have the same emotional connection that Tejano comes in with his bull rope
Mhm.
and
Oh god.
starts whipping Del Rio
More
because
kinky
they
shit.
yeah, this is the kinkiest episode of Lucha Underground yet.
Ah!
We have some choking. We got Del Rio like slowly taking his clothes off. We got
Choking. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, there's a point like early on he's like stripping for the audience, like he takes off his jacket and like announces like I'm going to take this off, and then he like takes off his tie, and I was really hoping he'd pull the shirt
He
off,
kept
but he
going.
didn't. I was sad.
Mundo does some ass shaking for the fans. We get questionable. We get dubious consent with Angelico trying to mac on Evilise during that whole bit of them like try not to hit Evilise.
All that fun non-con shit, yeah.
And here at the end with Tejano taking his big bull rope whip and just whipping Del Rio,
choking and whipping and choking and stripping and whips. Oh my
indeed.
That's got to be like a Star Trek Sulu. Oh my.
My.
Anyway, yeah. So he comes in and just decks Del Rio from behind, and I'm just like, what? Who is this man? But it was still like I could still tell like, oh, there's some shit going down here.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's obvious that like, oh, so Del Rio's going to be fighting this guy going forward.
Obvious feud setup is obvious.
Yes. Tejano, who I am a decent fan of his work in Lucha Underground. I like his big dumb bull whip ass.
Look, I'm just happy Del Rio's here, so like whatever we get from that, I'll take it.
Yeah, El Patron is going to be here for a little while.
Honestly, what was really cool for me, like one of the like, okay, the presumption of knowledge, it has its ups and downs, because I really like the WWE approach of treat every show like it's somebody's first. But that has its downsides because it kind of leads to some like inherent backtracking and recovering ground. And almost at times it feels like it stunts things a little bit in that you're like, there are certain places, there are certain extents to which you can't take your story simply by the philosophy of like, we can't leave like the newbies too far in the dust. But here, that assumption of knowledge, while in some cases like at the end here, like them treating it like you should know who this dude is, I was lost. But Del Rio coming in at the end of episode 13 without any sort of real introduction as to like, turning to the camera and being like, here's who this guy is.
Yeah, he just drops his old WWE catchphrase where he names himself and he's like, "But you already knew that."
But
which was his original catchphrase.
So gratifying. Like without having that handhold there, for me, it just excited the hell out of me. And so for the moments where you do know what's going on and they introduce something that they kind of presume you should know, it is really cool to know what's going on. I was blown away. It felt like a treat for me for like following WWE to the extent that I have been through this podcast, and now have one of its biggest players pop up here as now a major character in this new space. That was such a cool moment, and I do have to give him credit for like that presumption of knowledge really working sometimes if you do know what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. And I just overall I do appreciate that Lucha Underground treats itself kind of like serialized television. Wow, I have been saying that before. In that, they'll give you the recap at the beginning of the episode, but other than that, they're like,
you're on your own.
Hold on. Oh, I almost forgot the Big Rick thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that promo. That was fun. That was random.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's kind of he does a confessional, and he's like, "Bless me, Father, for I'm about to."
I'm about to.
And he just he talks about how he's gonna kick the crew's ass, and it's all about how like you'll have to forgive me, but I'm not gonna have innocent blood on my hands.
There are two things about that I want to say. First of all, major master forgive me, but I must go all out just this once vibes. And two, after the comment you made in the middle of that promo, I really, really, really wish they had cut to the priest on the other side of that confession box going like, well, that's great, buddy, but like, that's not how this thing works.
No, it's not. But yeah, there's a lot of Ezekiel Jackson. Excuse me, Big Rick. I just said his
Yeah.
WWE name. Thanks.
I
This is what
love
I
how
get.
many of these people are also in WWE.
God damn it! This is what I get for watching 2011 WWE recently for this podcast. He pops up there. But anyway, Big Rick, he uses a lot of biblical language. He talks about going Old Testament on him, and then it ends with the priest being like, "Listen, son, I ask that you go in peace." And Big Rick is like, "That's great, Father, but even God once said, 'Vengeance is mine.'"
Oh my god!
And they paint, and he comes in close, and he lights up his cigar in the confessional,
and we see the
eye patch.
Ah, yes, we get Big Rick, but with an eye patch now.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very fun to see where this is gonna go, I'm sure. But oh my god, it was so beautifully goofy. I loved it.
Yeah, it was great. And overall, I think these are two strong episodes.
Oh my! I mean, again, what the hell else would you expect from Lucha Underground? This show is exceptional. This show is amazing. I am made so fucking goddamn over the top, over the moon, ecstatically happy every time we watch this, and for good reason. It's so good. It will always be good, and I'm so goddamn happy that this is on our menu. Holy shit, do I love Lucha fucking Underground.
So do I. I'm glad we're only a third of the way through the first season.
I know, 2 years until season 2, year and a half until season 2, whatever. Like,
we're gonna be on this train for so long.
Oh, this is exciting. Oh, that's so cool.
But yes, that is another great time. And for next time, though, this is the next time will be the first time that we've reached an end of a story arc on this podcast. Even though it didn't start as one, I did the Attitude Era thing. Didn't start as a story arc. I made it one. But next time we reach the end of the line for now in the Attitude Era with the very first time Austin versus McMahon.
Oh my god, that's gonna be so wild. I can't believe we're like gonna be done with the Attitude Era for a little bit. That's like so wild to me. It feels like such a staple of our cycle now that like knowing that next time's gonna be the last is kind of insane.
It is, honestly.
And I'm excited to go into it. We'll see.
I think it's gonna be a good time.
I think so too. That whole setup's been wild and goofy. I just love my wild and goofy shit, whether it be in Boyle Heights or wherever the fuck WWF/E is filming in a given week.
What will we do when we don't have Vince Russo every month?
I know. I can't pull out my stock edgelord writer snark anymore. I gotta like come up with original shit. It's so much work.
Anyway, David, let's do the plugs.
Yes, sir. All right, my friends, my dear friends, thank you so much for once again joining us on this wild, wacky world of wrestling with us on the Noobs and Knockouts podcast. If you are a return listener with us, thank you ever so much for coming and listening to us once again. We are utterly delighted to have you with us week after week. If you are brand new around here, welcome with all of the love and joy in my heart. Thank you so much for coming and joining us for the first time. We hope you continue to do so. If you would like to continue to do so and you're not entirely sure how, well, not to worry, my friends. I have that right there for you. 1, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, the Noobs and Knockouts podcast. Ring that bell, all that good stuff. 2, you can find us on Spotify, on Apple, and on Google. 3 of the best places to get podcasts. No matter where you listen to us, make sure you give us a follow, a subscribe, whatever. Leave comments, leave likes, leave ratings. Just give us that sweet engagement. We love to have that nice little algorithm boost. It's a nice little boon, and plus it's cool to just get feedback on the work we do week after week. Hopefully it's good feedback, if you'd like to find us on social media, we are at Noobs and Knox Pod on Twitter. That's Noobs, the letter N, Knox Pod on Twitter. We post every time our new episodes drop. We like to, drop some memes here and there, interact with the overall broad wrestling community. And Austin does the best social media managing thing ever of live tweeting wrestling week after week. My friend, what is on the schedule for this upcoming week?
Yes, and in my continued quest to commodify and monetize every bit of wrestling I watch to ensure that absolutely nothing I do is purely for my own enjoyment.
That's the magic of content, baby.
As usual, I live tweet AEW Dynamite Wednesday nights 8 p.m. every week. It is the most consistent wrestling thing that I watch every week. And in addition, I cover all NXT takeovers, all WWE, Impact, and AEW pay-per-views, including today, the date this episode drops, April 25th, tonight, Sunday night, Impact Wrestling Rebellion, one of their quarterly pay-per-views. It is $40. And I admit it is $40 on Fight TV, but I'm telling you what, this is going to be a great show, headlined by Rich Swann versus Kenny Omega, title for title. One man is going to walk away both the Impact champion and the AEW champion.
Oh, that's exciting. That's so cool. All right, yeah, be sure to check that out. Austin's been putting so much work into his awesome live tweets. Be sure to watch along with him and get all of his brilliant insight and best jokes on all the proceedings of the evenings. You can also email us noobs and knockouts pod at gmail.com. That's the word and this time, noobs and knockouts pod at gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the show. Give us suggestions for things you want to hear from us. Just generally say hi and talk about how you use our voices to lull you to sleep night after night. Our dulcet tones do soothe and protect always. And you can also subscribe to our Patreon. $1 a month gets you early access to episodes and a shout out at the end of each episode.
Yep. And with that, see you guys next time.
Hasta luego.